The first Sunday of December 1985 was the birthday, or sometimes now we say the anniversary of Valley Baptist Church. We started that day at the old First Baptist Church of Oildale's facilities on Airport Drive. You can still see that facility today. That day, two churches in Bakersfield merged. The Hillcrest Baptist Church on Niles Avenue and the old First Baptist Church of Oildale merged together. Now let me tell you what happened when that took place. Pastor Roger was a pastor, Pastor Mike Miller, who was pastor of the Hillcrest Baptist Church, and I was pastor of a Baptist church, Southern Baptist Church in Tehachapi. We had all been drawn very close together because of the death of Pastor Roger's daughter, Charity, and we had a determination in our heart to do something great for God. And so the dream that we developed was to start a regional church, a church that could touch our city, touch our state, and even touch our world. So we knew we needed to put our resources together. So that's exactly what we did. On that Sunday night of the first Sunday of December 1985, those two congregations came together and met at the First Baptist Church of Oildale. And what we did was very interesting. The first order of business was for both of the two churches, First Southern Baptist Church Oildale and Hillcrest Baptist Church, to vote to disband and no longer exist. So the first vote of Valley Baptist Church in the history was for two churches to disband. Then as that congregation sat there, the next vote was for there to be a brand new church. And we had worked on the name for many weeks, and we'd finally settled on Valley Baptist Church. And so those two churches disbanded. Now we have no church. And then we voted to become a church. 800 Airport Drive was going to be the location, and our name was going to be Valley Baptist Church, because we saw in the Valley name that, hey, we want to touch this whole San Joaquin Valley for the Lord. We have the southern end of that valley, but we want to extend all the way up to the north, all the way to Sacramento and beyond. And now these 40 years have passed, and we've tried to do that. That was a wonderful night. There was an atmosphere in that room that evening that I don't know if I've ever felt anything like it before, and we've had some wonderful services. But the faith of those two congregations willing to come together and start a new work with 3 senior pastors was unprecedented. No one had ever seen anything like this. And we were questioned and even criticized about it by many people. Many leaders around about us in our denominational life, and others said, you guys can't do this. I particularly remember one individual who had a meeting with all 3 of us, and he walked away from our whole project, and he said to us, you have bit off more than you can chew. I'll never forget that. Well, 40 years later, I don't think that's the case. God bless that step of faith as we moved forward to try to consolidate our resources so that we could create a critical mass enough so that we could begin to start growing more exponentially. And we began, I believe, with about 360 people, something along those names. In the hallway of the North Sanctuary facility, worship facility, you will see a big, large portrait that says our charter members. We had enough insight to understand that something big was happening. And so we had this beautiful parchment paper laid out, and everyone that was at that meeting who joined the church that night, in the new church, Valley Baptist Church, we asked them to sign their name. And so we call that the charter members of Valley Baptist Church. It felt like that we were signing the Declaration of Independence on July 4th, 1776. And we're 250 years away from that great signing. So this was really something big. We organized our church differently. We created our own bylaws, our own constitution, and we started a brand new church. And as soon as we started, that first Sunday night, the next Sunday, you could sense and feel the blessing of God upon us. But something else happened that next Sunday that many people have overlooked or forgotten, but is an essential component, I think, to the blessing of God on Valley Baptist Church 40 years now later. So we had 2 congregations come together to form one congregation and work together in unity pooling our resources, leadership, financial resources, so that we could do something significant for God. But you know what else happened on that very next Sunday? On our very first Sunday together, after we constituted, we started another church. Now this sounds crazy, but listen to this story. Mike Miller had left the Hillcrest Baptist Church over on Nile Street. It was a very nice facility, probably 10,000 plus square feet of worship space and a life group space and fellowship hall. Excellent facilities, paved parking lot. Everything was in working order, a beautiful facility over there. So what were we going to do with that facility? Well, one of the blessings that happened in our merging together was some guidance that we received from the director of missions of Kern County. His name was Bill East, Dr. Bill East, who happens to be Ginger Spradlin's father. He suggested to us that we should do a mission project with that church as soon as we start Valley Baptist. And here was his challenge to us. In 1985, we did not have one single Southern Baptist work that was directed and focused on Spanish-speaking people in our community. Not one. So what we did was start the first Southern Baptist church, Spanish-speaking service, I should say, over on Nile Street. And so on day one of Valley Baptist's existence, we started another church. We took those facilities, we hired a wonderful pastor who came and began the leadership process. And in about 5 years after we started in 1985, we deeded over the complete ownership of property to the First Southern Baptist Church in Bakersfield. And that facility is still there. It's on Nile Street. It's still functioning. That congregation became extremely mission-minded, and they established a host of other Spanish-speaking works all over our county and even to the counties to the north. At one time, I knew that number was at least 15. I think it's far more than that now. So you may not know that on the very first day that we started Valley Baptist Church, which was something we celebrate now 40 years later, we started our first mission project. We started our first new church start. And we have been starting churches and revitalizing churches ever since then. In fact, this past week, we received information that on Easter Sunday, the last 4 of our revitalization projects, when you counted up how many those 4 churches had here in our Kern County area, they had over 1,500 people on Easter Sunday. Isn't that amazing? So God blessed us in a way in which we didn't even know, and we couldn't even have anticipated, by being a mission-minded church on day one, and has just reminded me ever since that God blesses evangelism and missions.